Hi everyone, Sabrina here, and today I'll be showing you part 1 of 3 videos for the June 2018 Hero Arts card kit. So I decided to do 3 videos because I had one card that took extra long and there's a lot of explaining to do and I didn't want to rush through it. So there's going to be 3 parts. This video is going to have 2 cards, and then the part 2 and part 3 are going to have 5 cards each. So you're going to be seeing 12 cards for this month's kit. It was my favorite and I had a lot of ideas, and I wanted to get this one out because I've been getting some requests about how I make my pop-up box cards. So what I'm doing here is I took a sheet of 8.5 by 11 Neenah cardstock and I cut that down to 5.5 by 10.5. Now I'm going to take my scoreboard and I'm going to score it at 2.5, 5, 7.5, and 10. So you should be left off with that little 1/2 inch towards the end. And then I just flipped it 90 degrees, and long ways I scored it at 3 inches. And what you're left with is an area that has rectangles and an area that has squares. You're going to go in with your scissors on those score lines that were 2.5, 5, 7.5, and 10. And you're going to cut on the square side all the way up to that 3-inch vertical line. You don't want to go past that, otherwise your front panels will be too long and it won't fold right and it will look weird. So just go up to that 3-inch line, stop there. Once you're at that 1/2 inch extra piece, you're going to cut off only the part that has the square. Leave the rectangle flap because that's what's going to hold your box together. I hope that made sense. You might have to rewind and just watch what I'm doing. It's a lot easier to watch and learn than for me to explain it. But I think after that, the box is pretty much constructed. It's very easy to assemble at that point. So, like I said, if you need to rewind it, go ahead and do that. But now I'm just taping up some 2.25 by 2 3/4 inch rectangles. Those are going to go on the bottom all around your box. And then these are 2.25 inch squares. Those are going to go on your front panels on the top of your box. So you're going to see what I mean once the box is formed. After I've attached double-sided tape to all these rectangles and squares, I'm going to line them up onto my card base. So for the rectangles, you're going to line them up with your score lines. You'll be left with a 1/4 inch white border all around. It's really easy to do it while the box is still flat. So that's why I add those down, and then I'm going to add some strong double-sided tape. This is what's going to hold your whole box together. So you really want it to be strong. Now to form it, you're just going to push all those score lines away from you, including that 1/2 inch tab. And then you'll just join the 2 ends together, and then you have your box. It's really easy. It does take, some practice to really master it, but I do these like in my sleep at this point. So they're really easy and fun to create. Then I went ahead and just added my 2.25 inch squares. Again, you're going to have that 1/4 inch white border all around. And the next thing I want to do is create those bridges that's going to hold all of my popping up elements. So I took some more Neenah 110-pound paper. You want it to be strong because it could be holding some heavy paper. And then what I'm doing is cutting it a little bit wider than my box. So my box is 2.5. I would recommend maybe 3 inches, and that way you can fold the 2 ends a 1/4 inch of the way. I eyeball it. If you want it to be perfect, you could do it that way. Like I said, I just fold in the tab so that it kind of fits snug into the center of that box. And then you'll add some strong double-sided tape to those tabs that are folded in. And like I said, these are used so that you can place floating objects in your box. And if you have the Lawn Fawn die, it's going to cut your whole box, all of those paper panels that we made, and it's also going to cut these bridges out. So if you want a more easier way, I would recommend buying that die. but this box that I'm making fits in an A7 envelope, and it's a little bit bigger so you can add some more things into it. And then that's basically how I constructed the box. I'm going to show you how I put that last bridge in. So I take off the backing paper and then place it inside my box. You can just add 2 bridges, 3, some people do 4. I think 3 fits really nice. And that's how it folds flat, and it just pops up into that shape. Okay, now we're gonna do the inside pieces. This is the fun part. So the first thing I wanted to do was create that ocean. I'm gonna grab my Misti, and I'm gonna ink these stamps up with the inks that came in the kit. They're really pretty colors and they coordinate very nicely. You'll see I had to stamp this out a few times. It was a brand new stamp and it's a solid stamp, so I think it took me 3 tries to get it. But it really doesn't have to be perfect because you're layering more color on top. And these inks do even out as they dry. So that was the first color. And the second color I think is called Summer Sky. I absolutely love this color. And I really love this kit, guys. I have so many ideas. That's why you're going to be seeing 12 cards this time. And I have actually made 10 of these cards that I'm going to show you because I always make these box cards, and so I just decided to make 10 with this kit. But you're only going to be seeing me make 1. And then I created a coordinating flat card that I'm going to add to the end of this video. I had a lot of extra supplies, and so I just created a matching flat card for it. Now, when I stamped the clouds, I thought I wanted it a lighter gray color, so I did second generation, but I actually liked the darker color, so you don't need to stamp it twice. You can just stamp it once. And then for the layering piece, I'm going to take Versamark and heat emboss it with, I have a really light silver. I would have used white, but I ran out of that embossing powder. So I used this like really light silver embossing powder. And to me it looks white, but there's a little bit of silver sparkle to it. And then you saw me go back over with that third layer on that ocean because I wanted to add some white onto it. You don't really notice it. You're going to see how I fix that. This marker is called a snow marker, and when you heat set it, it like bubbles up and it's sort of puffy. And I thought that would look nice. It would look like water was splashing onto the sand. So let me show you. It's really cool when you heat it. It like bubbles up. And I thought that this would be a really nice touch to my ocean. So yeah, it's called a snow marker. You are supposed to use it with snow, but I thought this would be neat. Okay, and then, oh, okay, I'm going to create my sand. So I took some Versamark, and using that first layer on the ocean stamp, I'm going to heat emboss that sand embossing powder, which was a really cool addition to this kit. It really does look like sand. Okay, and it didn't bother me that that end piece didn't stamp that well. I knew I was going to cut it down anyway, so I just left it. And then I wanted to stamp that hello that's written in the sand. So just with my stamp block, I'm going to go over that with Versamark, stamp it, and then go in with some brown embossing powder. I thought black would be too harsh and it wouldn't look like it was written in the sand, so I went with brown. And I really like how that turned out. I think that's a really cute stamp. Okay, and then I'm going to go in with pretty much every stamp that was in that stamp set. This one is the starfish. I did some gray sailboats. In the finished card, I chose to do yellow sailboats. Thought the gray looked kind of gloomy. And then I'm going to stamp my mermaid in the darkest blue that came in the kit, but you'll see when I'm assembling the card, I chose to make her pink. Thought she would stand out more. And then this is a brown memento. I think it's called Truffle. And I'm going to make those clouds actually be islands, which I'll show you in a sec. First, I'm going to stamp my shell in a light pink ink. And then with that first layer of the cloud, I just stamped it in brown. And I think what would be really cool is if you went in with the second layer and embossed it in green. I think those would actually look like real islands. But the overall shape, I think your eye sees that it's an island once you place it in the ocean. So I stamped a few of those. I did a lot of stamping, and you're going to see, like I said, I did 10 of these cards, so you're going to see a lot of die cuts. And what I'm showing you here isn't even everything that I stamped. You'll be seeing more once the card is assembled, but I did add 3 palm trees. I thought at first I might use 2 dolphins. I only use 1. And then I'm going to stamp 2 red beach chairs. And then, like I said, I'm going to take those coordinating dies and just run them through. And here is 10 cards worth of die cuts. I know, it's crazy. Okay, and I'm going to work on my sentiment. I chose Life is Better with Sandy Feet. I'm going to stamp that with some blue VersaFine ink onto this shape. And then, just so that the sentiment can coordinate with the box, I'm going to add some die cuts. I added 2 starfish and a shell. Alright, and now we can start assembling. So I'm going to add my sentiment first. And I place that right on the front. Now I'm going to take my waves, and my hello sand pieces were already cut down, so I'm using them as reference to cut down my oceans. And then using some 3-in-1, this is very strong glue. Highly recommend it if you want to do some card that's going to be handled a lot. And even to keep that more secure, I go on the back and add some acrylic strips just so that it's stable, it won't bend. Because I was joining 2 papers together, I just want to make sure that it's not going to rip or bend. And then I'm not even adding this to one of those bridges we made. This is directly onto that front of the card. And I just added that with, again, my 3-in-1 on the bottom front of the hello. And then I decided that it looked kind of weird. I know it looks scary what I'm doing, but I'm cutting it in half. I wanted it to look layered, so you'll see what I mean. I'm going to take that piece that I cut, put it on an acrylic stick. You can use packaging. There's a company called Clear Scraps. This is where I get mine. They're really strong, but when I first started making these, I just used extra packaging. I also added that blue, just plain paper, so that when your eye looks at it, you're not going to just see random ocean floating. The blue kind of grounds it a little bit more. Okay, and then off camera I did do another ocean. I didn't add the snow marker to it. I only wanted that to be where the ocean met the sand. Okay, same thing. I'm going to cut it in half, place 1/2 onto that acrylic stick, add a blue piece to the bottom, trim that down, and then I'm going to glue that onto the next row or the next bridge. And then you can kind of see how it's starting to look like an ocean that's going off into the distance. I thought that was really cool. That's going to be my last piece. So in total there's 4, but it's really just 2 cut in half. And that piece is going to go on to my third bridge. You'll see me flipping this around a few times just because I'm showing you how I make the card backwards. So sometimes I flip it around just to make sure I have good placement. Now I'm going to add those red beach chairs on either side of the hello. And then I took the largest cloud and I'm just going to place that right on the back of the card. So literally from the front to the back, there's something on the card, which I think is really cool. It gives it more dimension. Like I said, you can just stick with the 3 bridges that you made, but as I've made these, I've found that you could even use the fronts and the backs of the box just to give it some more layers. All right, I'm going to take those 2 clouds that I made, and I really just place it randomly. Sometimes I move things around, you'll see, as I add more. I try to start with my bigger items and then work down to my small ones. Okay, now I'm going to add my islands. That one I wanted to be a little bit lower because the cloud was covering it. And with that glue, you have a little bit of time to readjust. It's a pretty forgiving glue. And now you can really see that those do look like islands and not clouds. All right, now I'm going to add my little mermaid. Now you can see she's pink and she stands out more. So I just placed her sitting on the rock. And then I felt like she needed another island near her. Here you'll see I'll fiddle around with that palm tree. And like I said, I made 10 of these and each one looks different because you're not going to place them unless, well, I guess you could, but I always place mine in different areas. I try putting the mermaid on the 3rd row or the 1st row. I did different colors, so they all look a little bit different, which is kind of cool with these boxes. Okay, so here you can see I took off that cloud, but I'm just going to put it right back where I had it. And the last thing I'm going to add is that sailboat. Like I said, I changed the color to yellow. I really liked the vibrant colors in this box. Lastly, I'm going to add my dolphin. So you can see I have different colors. So a lot of my boxes look different. And I'm going to show you the other 2 that I made off camera. Here's how it folds flat. You can see nothing hangs off the side, so it's going to fit in an A7 envelope perfectly. And it just pops right up. And since we added those blue cardstock pieces, it's not going to look like it's random sea pieces floating on sticks. The dark blue kind of hides that. And here's the other one. There's the mermaid I did in blue. There's a different colored dolphin too, so it's all a little bit different, which is what's kind of fun about them. So I had those extra supplies that I showed you. I'm going to create a matching flat card. So I took some blue cardstock, just cut that down to 4 by 5 1/4. And then I had that huge strip of sand. I made that with the embossing powder. And you'll be seeing that strip in my other 10 cards. So sometimes I pre-make things off camera. It goes a little bit faster for me. And then same thing, I'm going to use that brown embossing powder to stamp out the hello. And then I'm going to show you the snow marker again because it's really cool. And you want to shake it, and it has a pigment ball in there. So make sure you shake it before you use it, otherwise nothing's going to come out of that pen. So here you'll see it start to bubble up, and I think that's so cool because when you go to the beach you see like the foam. I thought that emulated that really nicely. Okay, then I'm just going to glue those down flat. And then pretty much just like I did the box, but I'm going to do it on a regular card base. I'm going to put my islands in the distance. I adhered those down flat. And I think that I popped my mermaid up. Yeah. And then I wanted the dolphin to be jumping right above her. So I scooted her down more so that he would be jumping right out of the water. And then I'm going to add my clouds. They really are nice to fill up the top of the card. Those clouds are really pretty. And some of them I popped up and some I just glued straight down. And then I'll add that yellow sailboat. I thought about using that pink one, but took it off. And then I'm going to add my 2 chairs to either side. And that pretty much finishes that flat card. I thought it matched really nicely with the box. And I had enough die cuts to make 2 of these cards, so I'm going to be selling these as a set. And you can buy the box cards if anyone's interested. Otherwise, I hope I've given you some inspiration for this kit. I know it's sold out, so I'm really excited to see what other people are going to come up with. I have a few more ideas, so stay tuned for parts 2 and 3. Feel free to leave me a comment on what you think of these cards, and if you haven't yet already, go ahead and subscribe to my channel so that you know when I post new cards onto my channel. Alright, bye guys, thanks for watching.